This is Resonance, a podcast for leaders that unpacks the power of song, silence, and strategy.
We believe that great leadership begins with deep listening, not just to others, but to the still small voice within.
It's not just about being a successful leader, it's about being soulfully aligned as well.
In a world moving fast, Resonance invites you to pause and reconnect with purpose, people, and possibility.
We'll dive into some cool stories, celebrate with friends, and dig deep into the music too. 'Cause song has a way of saying what words cannot alone.
So whether you're leading a business, a team, or just trying to lead your own life with more meaning, this is Resonance.
Resonance.
Resonance. Hey folks, Steve Azar here with my pals Mike the Monk Guy Farrell, Randy Harrington. We are excited for another episode of Resonance, making our way into year two, really, for us is a calendar year. Today, we want to dig into the world of hospitality. Mississippi is known as a hospitality state.
True story.
That's something that should come natural to me. Nurturing, back in the nurturing days, my parents were very good at making sure that we appreciated people and appreciated the effort that folks made to make you feel really good about being somewhere. I think all that played a big role in my life later when meeting fans after shows. To be honest with you, the work got started. It didn't feel like work, but as far as the hours got started for me well after the show. And sometimes the show lasted 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 75 minutes, and meeting folks lasted 3 hours. I'll never forget those times. And I carry that with me today in my work today. And that's been something to me, be honest with you, that's been easy for me because I grew up in that world of understanding that and seeing people that way to me. We're going to unpack that. We've had some unpleasantries in the hospitality world that we've discussed offline that we all have sort of gone through recently that's interesting, how and why folks don't get it. Mike, I know that you've stumbled across a little situation recently. We may not talk about the brand of the place or hotel, but maybe you will.
We actually might talk about the brand because the brand is pretty well known for good stuff, and this wasn't so good. So, this whole idea of hospitality, I think, and we're, obviously when you mention the word hospitality, most people think restaurants, hotels, entertainment, those kinds of things. But this whole idea of hospitality is every single business needs to think about this and how it impacts your customers. And if you do it really well, it can turn into a great sales model because it creates that word of mouth. It creates them coming back again and again. And that's what's so important. So we're going to kind of unpack some of that today. But what I want to start with is what just happened to me in the last 5 days at a Ritz-Carlton. I'll go ahead and throw the brand out there. I won't say which one, but I will say it and Ritz-Carlton has been a story that I've talked about for many, many years.
Sure.
As really the flagship of understanding what hospitality is. Mm-hmm. Well, in this particular case, I was the first day that I got into my conference where I was speaking at, I was dead tired. All I really wanted to do was go to bed. So I ordered room service and ordered a sandwich from room service, and it came and it was missing half the ingredients and the bun was burnt to a crisp. But I was so tired, it's like, I'm not even going to fight this. I just want to eat it and go to bed and call it a day, So that was fine. So next night I order room service again. And this time I just order your basic cheeseburger, nothing fancy. And again, I get it. And the bun is burnt to a crisp. And so this time I call down. I said, you know what, guys, you messed one up last night. I didn't say anything. Tonight I got to say something. This is not the standard that I expected at Ritz-Carlton, And, oh, yes, sir, Mr. Farrell, we'll take care of it right away. We'll send. And it took them 45 minutes to get me the first one. So we'll get one up to you right away. I'm going to call the chef and have him do it right now. 40 minutes later, the second one showed up and that bun was burnt to a crisp.
Oh, my.
I'm thinking, man, I don't know who's manning the bun station down there. Their quality standards are a little off. And so I call back down and by this time I'm an hour and a half waiting for something to eat. And I'm thinking, well, I'm sure as heck not going to wait any longer for another one to come back. And so I told them about it. And so then I stopped down at the front desk the next morning because I really wanted to talk to one of the managers. And of course, there's no manager around. And she said, but, we're going to make sure that we take all that off your bill and all that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, you are. So about
Yeah.
3 o'clock that afternoon, I get both a voicemail and an email from the manager of food and beverage. And he said, Mr. Farrell, I understand you've had some problems with room service. We'd like to host you for dinner tonight. Come on down to our restaurant and, we'll take care of everything. And so I did. I
Nice.
went down, I had a wonderful dinner, fantastic food, fantastic service. They knocked it out of the ballpark. And I'm thinking,
Well,
okay, that's a great, a great recovery. They took care of it. At that, I would say, good. I'm back in good graces with them.
yeah.
The next night or the next afternoon, we had a group of us that went for a lunch, and it took almost an hour to get our food. And some of the people's food was cold when they got it. And then that evening, we all gathered in the lobby bar, and it took 45 minutes to get a drink in the
Yeah.
lobby bar. And then
Right.
I started hearing some of the stories from some of the other people that were at the event, and I didn't hear a lot of good stuff. And I'm thinking, man alive, this is a Ritz-Carlton. These guys are usually the stars of the show when it comes to the hospitality industry, or
Yeah.
certainly one of them. And it just never got better. And I'm thinking, boy, I'll tell you what, there's a Ritz-Carlton that's got a problem. And so from that perspective, I heard a lot of people say that was in it, and there were probably 60 people in the group that I was working with. I heard a lot of people say, we're not going back to a Ritz-Carlton. Not a chance,
Yeah, yeah, so that right there affects all the Ritz-Carltons. It just doesn't affect the
Exactly.
one
That's
because they're a
exactly right.
brand that advertises as one big, "We are that good
Right.
every." So, yeah, that one reflects on all of them, which is not
Right.
fair in a lot of ways, right?
Right. Right. Right.
You're
Right.
dealing with
So, but I
individuals
mean,
that
you
are
talk about it.
There's probably just maybe a couple of people. It sounds to me like the food and beverage
Yeah.
boss
Yeah.
was out to lunch in some way. So maybe one person or two people
Right.
can bring down a brand experience in that kind of a hotel environment,
That's
Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah.
really
That's exactly
crazy.
right. Yeah.
interesting. So, where's the breakdown, do you think, as far as you've got the GM running everything, right? And then you got people
Right.
that come in from Ritz-Carlton that are above them, that are always sort of
Right.
supposed to be checks and balances along the way to make sure that everything is to a T, so they
Right.
can have return customers and
Yep.
everybody can leave with this experience the opposite of what you had. They did try to rebound. They threw a touchdown offering you that
Right.
night,
Yep.
but then they go again. So where is it is the hospitality business in general in most areas of the country now, is it like a lost art, or are they not teaching it like they used to? Or a lot of people not wanting to be in the hospitality business, so they're like probably lacking a lot of like the pool of the all-stars, or
Sure.
I know some schools, teach hospitality,
Sure.
Right.
but
Right.
what's
Right.
going
Right.
on? Where's that disconnect you feel?
If we go back in time, which we are wont to do on this channel, and we look at sort of what is the foundational element of hospitality in human anthropology, and what we find out is that it really does go back a long, long, long way. And if we look into it, mostly I guess the earliest use of the term comes from the Greeks, which is so normal for this kind of thing. But it has to do, hospitality as a word implies a literally sacred relationship between and they would use this term, the master and the guest. So who or the homeowner or the whatever, the person that is welcoming and then the person that's coming in. So it's this sacred relationship between the guest and the purveyor of whatever it is. And hospitality implies clear rules and roles for each. It's important in this case, it's important for Ritz-Carlton, right? They have a whole bunch of things they're responsible to fulfill in that relationship. But then so does the guest. The guest brings some responsibility too into it. And so one of those responsibilities, I think you did that very nicely, was you called them out on it and you said, this isn't up to standard, but I'm not going to freak out about it. I'm just going to let you know. And it's up to you now to do the right thing. And they kind of didn't do the right thing and then eventually did. And so the other thing I wanted to underline in your story was the criticality of service recovery.
Yeah.
And I want to put a pin in that and cut back around to it a little bit more, because I don't know about you guys, but I have had terrible service experiences and then had the service recovery be so good that it actually eclipsed
Yeah.
the
Right.
regular experience,
Right.
And I have one story I'll tell in a minute about that. But the thing I wanted to get to is that if we go back in time, what we find out is that hospitality resolves in relationship. It doesn't resolve because you ticked off boxes or you did the thing in the right order or steps. I feel a sense of actual hospitality when I have a sense of relationship, period. And so if that's not there, even though everything is nice, maybe it's clean, maybe it feels good, but it doesn't ring my bell.
Right.
It's, the hospitality experience comes from your first trip in the car. And Steve, why don't you tell us about driving up to Vail before you talk about driving back from Vail?
You want me to do this back real quick? So up to Vail.
Yeah, up to Vail. Are you in a good mood? You're in a good mood. You're going to
ready
Vail.
to go, right? Yeah, right.
We're going to go ski.
We're going to go.
Get injured.
If you call what I do skiing, then we can say that, but not get injured. Yes, that's important. I'm always just like I'm doing here, chasing Gwen. I'm chasing Gwen down the mountain. She's good. But didn't fall 2 years in a row. Maybe 3 of the last 4 years I haven't fallen. So that we've gone. So that's a plus.
That is a big plus.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, on the way, the guy was so wonderful. Once you got in the car with him, there was a specific brand. This was called. We get to mention brands because we should. It was called Rocks to Rocks. I'm going to give them 100, and I'm going to give them a 0. So here we go. This guy, his last name was Fox, and he was the sweetest guy. And we started to have, you get in these cars, and Gwen and I are in the back seat, and we're, and you wonder if you're ever going to have a conversation, or do you want one, or you want to take care of business. I always kind of like to talk for a little bit to the people that are driving us. Well, we talked the whole time. I got to know about his kids. He got a really great athlete in the family that just scored 76 points in a basketball game recently. But he wants to play college football. Wow. Yeah. And so anyway, we had a really great conversation, and this guy is on dialysis. So I was like, how many often? He says 3 times a week. And he's, needing of a kidney. And so anyway, long story short, I really ended up really bonding with him, and we'd already tipped before we got there, but I tipped him like, big time. I feel like it was big time, but I did. I felt like this man is going through hell right now. And he says, I want to be around for my kids. He got a lot of kids, and he goes, I want to be around for them. And I'm trying to be strong for them, and they are really upset about it. And he goes, so I'm trying to be stronger than I'm capable of. He said a lot of really prophetic, prolific things that he was going through. So I feel like he's facing his mortality. I mean, he's facing it, right? He's like up against the wall.
Right.
He needs kidney. So anyway, off the charts, wonderful man. And so we thought, okay, I hope I'm getting him back. So I text back because I had his number. And I said, I'm hoping you're going to give us the ride back. He goes, well, I can't. This other guy's coming, but they'll take care of you. So I get a text message in the morning saying you have to be in the car between 8 and 8:15. I said, that's fine. We'll be down there. We were down there at 7:50 and waiting. And of course it showed up at 8:20. And so we're there, and we're looking for our car because we had a private vehicle. There was like a van. It wasn't like crazy, whatever. We shopped around, made sure that made sense. But anyway, long story short, all of a sudden a big Sprinter pulls up, and this Sprinter is dirty. And I'm looking at it and going like, man, that thing looks like college. Like it just has college kids are going to jump out of that thing right now going, woo. And all of a sudden this guy gets out, opens the door, and he goes, are you Steve Azar? I said, yeah. He goes, we're here to pick you up. I said, we have a private car, and this is not private. And there's 5 people in the car. There's 2 adults and 3 kids. And one of the kids, some was sick. So they were hacking and the stuff, the noise. And I'm like, oh man, basically the whole trip. So I said, look, we have a private car. He goes, here's the deal. Get in or stay. Is what he told me. Get in or stay. And I went, oh my gosh. So there's a part of me that wanted to pin him against the thing, but I said, no, we got to go. We get in. Well, I want you to picture this. I've never seen so many holes in a vehicle. I've never seen holes in a vehicle. They're this big, this big, this big, this big. There's so many. And you're feeling the air from the outside. They're in the doors and in the ceiling and everywhere. So I took pictures of it all because I knew I had to do this. In the meanwhile, it had just snowed a lot, which they needed in Vail. So that's a hallelujah. And in the mountains and in Colorado. But so we've got to get from Vail to Denver. He's flying down the highway, and the windshield wipers and the fog defogger isn't working. And he's got a crack. I can't see through it. So I had to take pictures of that because there's no way he could see. And I'm going, this is crazy. They've got Christmas lights all above the thing, right? And I'm going, Christmas lights. And the thing was filthy. So we're hoping, I'm telling you right now, hoping we're going to get there. alive. It was very stressful the way he was driving. He couldn't see out the window, and there was 18-wheelers and all that. And we're going like, this could be it. And I'm worried about these kids in the back.
Oh,
They're never
yeah.
going to be able to do life past the age they are. So I'm a little over the top, but not really. So we get there, and we get out, and I decide to send an email to the company. Rocks to Rocks is the name of it. And so I said, I explained everything. I called first, and they said, you got to send pictures. And I said, oh, I've got pictures. So I sent pictures, and I sent everything and explained. Well, this morning they answered, and they answered pretty quick within 48 hours, and said, they had already answered, said, give us a second. And then they got back, said they're going to offer half of the return fee. And I said, first of all, I would never ask for a way down to Vail because he deserved more, and I gave him more. But this happened, and I said, no. I thought about it. I prayed over it at church. Then when I'm doing something wrong here, do we just need to let it be? But the get in or stay, and
24-hour rule.
I took the 24-hour rule, and I get a thing today saying that, and they say that they brought up their contract, which said something into the thing that if you would see that there's a clause in there if this happens, in case it happens, maybe that you got to be stuck with what we got. So I said, okay. So we looked on the contract and everything that they have online. And this is what it says. All Rocks to Rock services, private or shared, feature professional drivers, immaculate vehicles. Now, the word immaculate vehicles to me is, you can't use the word immaculate, and this was filthy. So filthy, I'm telling you. And I said, we would have been itching as college kids in this thing because we felt like something was jumping on us. But either way, the bottom line was that, and then they had pictures of vehicles on their website, which were not even close to what we wrote in. So I said, if you're going to throw the contract out at me, then okay, I would have been happy with the 50%, but I'm not happy now because you're throwing legal stuff at me, some legal jargon that's hidden somewhere.
Right.
And I said, I'm going to give you something that's not hidden. And so I said, I'll just use it. The great and the beauty of American Express is that you get to dispute things. And so I'm going to dispute it, and I'll keep disputing it for 50 years if I have to, because these people are wrong, because they brought up some key elements that to me are not in their favor. But, you're hearing me rant. I'm grateful for the road there. I'm grateful we got there, and I could let it go.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. We were expecting to pay for it anyway. It's not the point. The point is, what is the get in or stay? That is not hospitality, boys and girls.
There you go. And
Right.
so he killed the opportunity for relationship at the very beginning of it. There was no chance to recover from being an a-hole at the very top of the show. If he had said, we've had a number of incidents with our vehicles that we blah, 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 and I'm very, very sorry, and I've already called my manager about this, but this is the best we have right now. And so, I understand this is an inconvenience. All of that kind of, obsequious, and you need a little, but without that, you're angry from the get-go, and it spirals up, right? So you think he doesn't care, and then you start looking at it, and it's obvious he doesn't care. He doesn't even care about his own life, apparently, because the safety.
The difference between the two, the one that got us there and the one that brought us back, were nowhere. The word relationship, you couldn't build that, because he started off with everything wrong. And the first guy's last name was Fox. He was a great guy, like I said. Very humble man, going through tough times like we talked about. But he was a little late because he kept going he told us to go to one gate, and he couldn't get there because that gate was under construction. So in Denver Airport, you have to go all the way back around. He had to do that twice. Then he goes, I'm on the other side. Long story short, right. But long story short, once we got in there and started talking, and he was asking, I am so sorry. And then he was just immediately saying, he was very apologetic. And I was going, it is all good. And at no point were we upset. But he didn't say get in or stay at the beginning, right?
Right.
He was apologetic.
Right.
Which as long as we get there, fine. But the vehicle was adequate, and all that. We felt comfortable. We felt safe. And that's the bottom line. You can put me in whatever you want to put me in, and I'm a warrior. But when I have my loved ones with me, or a loved one or loved ones, then I become extremely protective. It's how I'm built. So anyway, we're going to see what happens. But it's
interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and we'll throw a little Benedictine wisdom on you. The idea of hospitality. The Benedictines have embraced that for 1,500 years. It's a core tenet of who they are. And in fact, right in the Rule of Benedict, he talks about welcoming guests as if they're Christ. And
Yeah.
that whole idea of welcoming, I talk about attention to detail and authenticity and surprise and delight. That's kind of the surprise, no delight on that case.
Good. I was going to say something. So you bring up all of that, and so we can't always put things down. It's rare that we go through these situations. Very
Yeah.
rare. There's a Fifth Avenue hotel in the Beekman by Thompson in New York. Gwen and everybody asked me, "Why do you keep going back? Why don't you find something new there?" You know why I don't find something new there? Because they treat you like you. It's unbelievable. Talking about building a relationship.
Yeah.
You remember you. They
Yep.
remember what you like to drink. They remember and I'm telling you, it's like going home. It's the only
Yeah.
way to explain. And I'm going to keep going back to those two hotels because I know how I'm going to be treated, and the rooms and the accommodation, everything from start to finish. The people, the ones that are opening the door for you, the ones that are getting your car outside, they're like
Absolutely.
wonderful. And
Yeah.
so,
Absolutely.
and so there is a place where you can continue to go and you want to go because they are very hospitable.
Yeah. And I think that's the idea here, is that a lot of leaders, a lot of businesses don't understand the impact of how they take care of not only their customers, but how they
Mhm.
take care of their people. Because
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, if they're not taking care of their people, and I would bet if I started digging a little more on what happened to me over these last 5 days, I would bet that I would find some management and training issues that those people aren't feeling like they're being taken care of, and therefore they're not delivering the high level quality that's expected from the overall brand. And so I think that it's something that businesses really need to understand, to say every single time we touch a customer, whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, whether it's in person, every single time we touch a customer, we have to be looking at what can we do better? How can we make that customer feel like they're really the most important customer to our business? And when we do that, then we begin to create that environment that says people want to do business with us
Yeah.
because of the way we take care of our other customers, because of the word that comes out because of that. And so, it's, the part that kills me, and I've done a lot of training in this area, the part that kills me is that in most cases, hospitality doesn't cost a dime.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a mindset. It's a
Yeah.
mindset, and it's the way that we take care of people and train people, and it doesn't cost a dime, and yet it's also amazing to me how many people don't even think about it.
That's right.
Well, it's what separates the great from the good from the bad, the whatever. But you guys as consultants, I mean, like Randy, I know that you got an instance you want to talk about, but Randy, before you go there, and tell me, like, how do you go in? Who do you go see? And when are the red flags happen? When do they happen for the company?
Right.
What's going on down there in Salt Lake?
So there's a couple of things I think that are important from organizational perspective, and one is that if I don't have a sense of agency, if I don't have a sense of flexibility and potential as the person greeting the customer, you're going to have a crappy experience.
Yeah.
So I could be the nicest person in the world, but my boss says this is what you do. You do these 5 things in this order, and that's the way you do it. And so I have a customer now who needs something in a slightly different order, but I'm sorry, Mr. Azar, but I can't. We have to do it this way. And so the service experience is broken automatically simply because I don't feel like I have the opportunity to do something different. One of the great parts of the Ritz-Carlton story, of course, is that every employee is empowered with actual money that they can use, spend, or whatever to make that
Right.
guest experience happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. If that guest needs something, you can make the decision on the spot to make that better for that guest.
Wow.
And so that sense of empowerment, I think, is really the first place where if that's not there, you're not going to have hospitality. A very brief story was I checked into a hotel in the Southwest. I don't know exactly where it was now. Maybe it was even Texas. But they had obviously gone through a training that said something about how to greet the guest when they first come in. And so I'm checking into the hotel, and I don't know about you, but when I'm checking into a hotel, the quicker that can happen and blah, blah, the better it
Right.
is. I just get to my room usually,
Yeah.
and it is. And so this woman, very, very nice woman, and she was obviously trying her best. She does this. She goes, "Yes, Mr. Harrington. Welcome, Mr. Harrington. How was your flight today, Mr. Harrington?" And I said, "My flight was fine. Thank you. Mr. Harrington, you're this and that and this and that. Would you like one key or two keys, Mr. Harrington?" I think she said my name at least 37 times in the 4 minutes I was there. And in the book, they said, when you say the person's name, it makes them feel better. And it was kind of the first 2 times she said it.
Yeah.
But after the 37th, I was like, geez, woman, just stop. And then I went, so I actually did get a little pissy. I was like, "What's your name?" "Oh, well, thank you, Susan. That was very nice, Susan. I appreciate it so much." But so this is where you see performative hospitality, where it's really not genuine. She was told to say my name, and so she was laying it on thick, and she missed it. Now compare that to I'm in a Hilton Garden Inn in just outside of Detroit, and I had checked in the night before, came down midday the next day, had to get a ride. As I'm walking out, the woman who checked me in the day before sees me in the lobby. She's walking across the lobby, and she looked at me and she said, "Everything going okay today, Mr. Harrington?"
Nice.
That's different.
That's nice.
You remembered from last night. That was who my name, and that was, I was like, yeah, okay, very good. That was, she got like 17 brownie points for that. Not that that adds up to anything, but I did feel that sense of amazingness.
Yeah. Well, let me go to another whole spectrum. You know, being on the road most of my life, there were breakfast places that you like to frequent. Waffle House. Let's go.
Waffle House.
Well, I'm a fan, man. Come on. So everybody listening, go, "Hey, Steve, get over yourself." Or sometimes you have to tough it out. Hey, I've toughed it out a lot, and I like toughing it at certain places. But the bottom line is, like, you go to Waffle House, that's hospitality. You feel like the person. I don't care what town you're in. It's almost like they have the same tone in their voice, but it's not.
Do.
But it's not the same. They really are welcoming you. You
come on in, sugar. Yeah,
that is beautiful.
Yeah. I know. You can sit right over there if you want, or you can sit over there. You pick.
So whoever's leading the charge of Waffle House, and you think about that, probably not going to get their master's degree or their doctorate at some university to be the one that's so dang hospitable. And the rocket scientist is back there figuring out all these orders, is cooking everything always the same and getting 1,000 orders right, never getting it wrong. Never. I've never had my order wrong at Waffle House. I can actually say it. But we couldn't wait to go there. When I still see the Waffle House on the road and I'm in a hurry and I can't stop, it hurts me that I can't stop. I love the way they treat us. They treat me, they treat my band, and so there are places that aren't Ritz-Carltons and aren't, where that can deliver hospitality and that do deliver hospitality, where a lot of times it's just, I hope we never take that for granted because how consistent like a Waffle House is. Chick-fil-A, known for it.
Absolutely.
Whatever they do, and nobody does better. Everybody should study them because they get your name, but then they sort of trick you a little bit because, okay, Mr. Steve, they say, Mr., da-da-da. You feel like you know them. It's just the way they talk to you, right? And then but they're so kind. And the kindness starts from the first person, and they're out there in the rain sometimes. They don't care. They're going out there to wait on you.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time one of those lanes, everybody that has touched you, talking wise and emotionally, or touched your food or brought it to you, whatever, everybody feels like they really care.
Well, this is it. The training is rooted at Chick-fil-A. The training is rooted in empathy.
Yeah.
It begins with the awareness that everybody is bringing some kind of energy, either positive or negative or whatever, but they've had a good day or a bad day or whatever, and you need to react. You need to catch that person where they are. They're not just automatons, right? It's, I'm going to look at you. And that is what makes all the difference, I think.
And I mean, the other piece is that they understand, and it's not just Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of examples out there, and a lot of examples that don't have anything to do with food and restaurant and entertainment, but they understand the importance of listening with the ear of your heart.
Yes.
They understand that first and foremost, when you ask the customer a question or the customer asks you a question, you need to listen. You need to listen to what the response is. You need to listen to what the question is, because Randy, as you said, you don't know whether they're having a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
No,
and if you're not listening for that, there's absolutely no way that you can respond appropriately because it's just going to be like noise coming out.
Yep.
All I'm hearing is yeah, 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 yeah,
Yep.
and without that empathy, without listening with empathy and compassion and understanding, there's no way that we can return that favor without understanding it. And so I think that, when we talk about training people for hospitality, first and foremost, you got to train them how to listen,
There you
because if
go.
they're not listening, doesn't make any difference whatsoever. There you go. Steve still got his word.
I'm learning. Hey, can I say something? You think that a lot of folks are just ended up doing jobs and that they're not passionate about? Let's talk about the golf industry versus
Yeah.
just somebody going to a job. Golf industry, people get into the golf industry because they love golf. They like to be around the greens. They like to be around the grass. They like to be in the pro shop. They like golf clubs as toys, right? And when you walk into 99% of pro shops or at golf courses and stuff, even though some of these guys were trying to be PGA professionals or whatever, and they ended up being club pros, they're so happy. Like they're in their environment that they wanted to be in probably since they were kids. So it's a profession that requires extreme hospitality, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get a little Eddie Haskell like, you get it, you
Right.
feel it, and it's a little bit like whatever. But most of the time it's sincere and genuine. So do you think that maybe the chef at the restaurant or whatever wasn't paying attention, feels like he deserves to be at a Michelin star restaurant and he's not? Or
Sure.
maybe I'm thinking about this. How do I end up here? Doing breakfast for Mike the Monk Guy Farrell or dinner at the Mike the Monk Guy Farrell, making him a burger and fries. I don't know. I always think about our Cecilia and the path that she's taken as a chef. And because she's doing some private chefing as well, but she's really doesn't have a say on some of the things versus the Michelin star restaurant versus where the creative
Sure.
part.
Sure.
And I just hope she never falls into the pit of where cooking literally becomes work rather than this joy. And the joy ends up that you can taste it in the food, right? And the people that serve it. So anyway, I'm wondering if
Oh,
lack
a
of
dear
passion.
friend of mine.
But I think, yeah, and I think you bring up a great point there, Steve, because the other piece of that is you can't tell me that somebody working at Waffle House or Chick-fil-A that's their lifelong desire, that
Right.
they absolutely love that. So I think you have to look deeper into it. You have to look at what kind of vision, what kind of care are they getting from their employer? I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I know lots of golf pros that are miserable, and it the minute you walk in the shop. And so, I think that it more comes to how are they being taken care of? What do they truly understand the vision of the organization, of the business that they work for, and what they do and how they want to take care of their customers slash clients? Because if that's not being portrayed, I don't care if you're flipping burgers at Waffle House or if you're the head golf pro at one of the fanciest country clubs in the country, if that vision hasn't been portrayed to you and you haven't bought into it, you're not going to be very good at what you do.
So you're saying passion, Randy? Answer, please.
Yeah. Well, so
Passion
there's a
doesn't
there's a,
play a
a
role in it?
woman that I have great respect for. Her name is Joanne Edwards, and she and I have worked together on several projects over the years. In fact, she was a crucial person in the development of the Speaker's Edge program at the University of
Oh,
Mississippi with the business school and all that. She's an amazing woman. Anyway, she's retired now. And I was speaking with her and I said, so what are you doing? What are you doing in retirement? She said, well, I took a job at Target. And I said, really? Okay, this woman is an academic guru, And I
sure.
said, and you're working at Target. Why in the world are you working at Target? She said, well, I only work there 3 days a week and I do this and that and this and that. And I said, do you like it? She goes, I love it. And I said, okay, tell me why you love. I said, what do you do? She says, I do all kinds of things, but mostly they love me on the checkout. Okay, why? Well, I'm nice to people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But she said for her, she gets so much joy because she makes up a story in her mind about every single person who's coming through based on what comes across that belt, right?
Ah,
So
So
they're getting.
she'll see somebody with like, some, tchotchkes for the house, blah, 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 maybe a little thing and a thing, and then a pregnancy test kit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So there's this, so
Yeah, I
every
get it.
single time, so then somebody's coming along and they've got all the Theraflu and all the stuff. She goes, people are giving you a snapshot of who they are with what that stuff is
right.
on the belt. And she's caught up in it. just trying to see and imagine. She enjoys the experience of building some sort of empathetic relationship. I said, do you talk to these people about what's on their card? She said, no, do that, of course. But I am certainly looking at it and understanding this is where these people are at.
I'm never going to go to the store ever again.
I know, no.
It's all Instacart from here on. You know what's funny is you bring up this thing. When we lived in Nashville in the beginning, there was this guy at a quick stop, right? And I'd walk down from our townhouse, and I'd go over there and go in there, and he'd go, he'd always ask, like, if I'd get milk, he goes, would you like some Captain Crunch with that? It wasn't like cereal. It was always this. And so he was always doing that. And it was a game to me to go in there to see what he was going to do. So one day I got sent in to get women's feminine needs, right?
Yes.
And that was very uncomfortable, still is to this day, but I had to do it. And so I go down there and I get it. I walk up there and I was going, what is he going to say? And he goes, would you like a rose for the young lady? I just said, I'll never forget it as long as I live. You know, I've got these patches on the thing. And would you like a rose? I mean, like, he was so colorful and creative, and I loved him. Like, you know, I couldn't wait. Anyway. So,
and so he thought about that, made his job fun every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Her.
That was enjoyable. Okay, here's one more story for you. This one is a favorite of mine. So this happened way back, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I can't recall. I was down in Orlando giving a speech at a conference. And so it was maybe 7:00 in the morning now. I'm downstairs in the lobby of this hotel where they had set up a breakfast buffet thing, you know, and for all the attendees. And I'm going through the little breakfast thing. Now, the night before, all the attendees, and I want to say 300 and 400 people, were hosted at Disney World.
Sure.
And it was a party, a private party thing at Disney World, which I had never really done or been there before. And it was very nice. And it was kind of cool because at maybe 8:00 at night or something like that, it started to rain a little bit like it does in Florida. But instantly, the Disney people are walking around with umbrellas for everybody. It was just amazing. Umbrellas came out of everywhere. You know, it was just like, wow, okay. And the party kept going. It was like, wow, this is really cool. Well, at 10:00, everybody got on buses and went back to the hotel. So now it's the next morning. I'm down in a little line going through, getting my food, getting my little muffin, getting some coffee, and a stretch limo pulls up out front. And you sort of notice that because it's 7:00 in the morning and a stretch limo pulls up and the doors swing open. And I want to say 9 people pour out of this thing, and they are wearing mouse ears and every Disney thing you can imagine. And they are hammered drunk. They are spilling out of this thing. 7:00 in the morning. Like, holy smokes. So they're staggering in, and I overheard this. Somebody says, where have you been? What's going on? And this woman says, we got stuck on the Tower of Terror. So sure enough, at about 9:30, lightning hit. And they were on the ride. And I don't know if you've been on this ride, but you're sitting there and your feet are hanging, dangling down. And all 9 of these people are sitting there. The thing gets frozen and they can't get down. The ride did not work. And so they were freaking out because it was literally lightning storm and, you know, rain, and it was a mess.
Gosh.
And it took, she said, about 30 minutes before they were able to get them down safely. And so what happens though, while they're sitting up there, they're talking about who they're going to sue, how they're going to sue people. This is just not okay. Everything you can imagine. They get off the ride and the general manager of the park greets them. It's now like 11:00.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, obviously we're super sorry about this, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do what we can to make it right. But you know what? I don't know if you want to do this or not, but once I wake up like this, I really can't go back to sleep. And he called me up out of bed to come here for this. And so now I'm awake and I don't know. Do you guys just want to play? You guys just want to have fun? I mean, you got a backstage pass to all of Disney right now.
Wow.
And so they were like, yeah, that sounds cool. So she said, the guy takes them on a tour of all the backstage, all the tunnels, all the cool stuff, all the stuff you'd never see in a million years. And then they would go to a ride thing, or they would do a thing, or do you want to do this? And she said, and everywhere we went, the little bar cart just followed us right along, you know.
I thought they were sending them drinks up on the Tower of Terror.
No, the bar cart followed them around for 5 hours. They were on this tour. And the last stop was the Disney store. They walked in, the guy said, get anything you want. Just whatever you want.
Yeah. Well,
and so Basically, as
sounds
much as they could carry is what it seemed to be,
Sure.
because they just so much junk all over their bodies. And so then the story through the rest of the day was, I wish I had gotten stuck on the Tower of Terror.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's how service recovery works, where the recovery was so amazing that you
Yeah.
almost want the insult to be able to justify that kind of backstage experience. But
Wow.
there
That's
you have it. Service
a-
recovery Disney style. And also including alcohol, I think was probably
Yeah.
a smart.
I got to be honest.
Never
I've never had a bad experience at Disney World. I'm a sucker for it, so I just want you to know that.
Oh,
Second,
yeah.
we
It's one of
probably run
Anne's
out.
places in the whole world.
Oh,
She loved it there.
Still put me, and it's a small world, and I with my kids or alone, it doesn't matter. I'm like, wow, there's something so incredibly magical, but also the way everybody treats you there, it's
Yeah.
off the charts. I agree. Do you want to take us home, Mike or Randy? Who wants to take us home?
Yeah, I'll
Sure.
take it. So
Go for
anyhow,
it.
today we have been talking about hospitality, both good and bad hospitality, and talked about
Yeah.
some of our experiences. But I think the most important part is to really understand the impact that hospitality has on any business. It doesn't have to be a restaurant or a hotel or entertainment or anything like that. Every single business, no matter how small you are, no matter how large you are, every single business needs to focus on this. They need to think about how they deliver it. They need to think about making sure that it's not just delivering it to their customers and their clients, but are they doing it for their own people? Because
There
the
you go.
better they do it for their own people, the better their people do it for their customers and clients. And so I think that's what's really important as we talk about this idea of hospitality today. Use it as a tool to improve and increase your business, not to just do good customer service. There's you can have good customer service, and quite frankly, if you don't have good customer service, you're probably not going to be around very long. But there's
Thank
a
you,
big
Mr. Farrell.
difference. There's a big difference between good customer service and profound hospitality. And
Mr.
when
Farrell,
you
you're
take it
doing
to
a
that
fine
next
job.
level.
What'd you say there, Randy?
Mr. Farrell's doing a fine job as being Mr. Farrell. Mr. Farrell.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Farrell.
He's the king. Listen, he's the king of profound hospitality.
He is the king of profound hospitality. He
Yeah.
is
All
in
right.
Italy, Homo la legenda, the man, the legend. Okay,
He is.
right here. Until
Sure.
next time.
Something's
own
wrong.
mind.
Something's wrong with
Resident
it,
rock.
last probably, but that's all right. Look, I'm gonna take us all the way home now. Give me the steering wheel. Give me the get out of the driver's seat. You guys get in the back seat. I'm gonna chauffeur you home. ResonanceLeader.com. You can check us out everywhere you listen to podcasts. You can check us out on YouTube if you want to see our mugshots doing whatever they do, and also know that you can bring in Resonance Live to your business, your conferences, and everything, and we'll put on a show. We're always loving to get together, and you're talking about hospitality. We'll show you what that's like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys for tuning in on behalf of my pals, Mike, the Mutt Guy Farrell, Randy Harrington, and myself, Steve Azar. Blessings, guys, later on.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to Resonance. Find us at resonanceleader.com.